pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schlagenhaus going to pray for us tonight.
If you'd like to join us, Heavenly Father, be with us as we conduct the business this evening of the school, and we ask for wisdom and your guidance in this matter, and in these topsy-turvy times, just we know you have your hand on the pulse of this, and we have our faith in you. Amen.
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 Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call to order our Bluffton Harrison MSD Board of School Trustees meeting for April 20th. Call it to order. First off, I'd like to welcome everyone to our first live stream board meeting with our special circumstances. This is the first one, I believe, that we've had. And we appreciate Ben and the tech department getting us set up tonight and taking care of us. First item, we have the President's Prerogative. Again, I want to thank the technology department at BHMSD for their efforts to broadcast the meeting tonight, and also their efforts with the additional stress on our network with the e-learning. I'm sure there's been things they've learned new about that as well. I know my work has learned new things with all the people online, so we thank them for that. And I also want to thank the Bluffton BHS Athletic Department for recognizing our spring athletes via social media. As you know, their seasons were canceled, and we really feel bad for our seniors, but of course all that's out of our control, so we want to thank the athletic department for recognizing them at least through the social media. And also I want to thank the food service department. I don't know how many of you look out on social media, but they're doing a great job feeding our students, and our I don't know if how many other meals we're serving, but it's quite a few during the day, so we want to thank them and all the people that are helping them get the meals out. And also thankful to the staff and teachers for keeping up with their students, keeping them on track for their learning, and also reaching out to the students through Zoom meetings and stuff. That's been interesting to watch too on social media. It's been neat to see. So we'll move on to next item is public comment. I don't know if you received any.
Yeah, we did receive one public comment. It was a question regarding summer school. So our summer child care. Our public comment was set up to allow the public to submit questions via Google form on our website, and we had one respondent for that. They're inquiring whether or not we'll be having child care services over the summer months. And we'll speak to a little bit about summer here in our reports tonight, but right now we intend to. We want to have summer child care services, but it's undetermined whether or not we'll be able to at this point in time. So we're just waiting on directives right now for what will be permissible and not permissible during that time.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the next item, consent agenda items. Everyone had a chance to look at the consent agenda items in the board book. I just need a nod of approval. Everybody's in agreement with that? Okay. Yeah. All right. Everybody's in approval of that. So moving on to reports and announcements. Indiana School Boards Association 2019 Exemplary Governance Award.
Well, tonight we have two individuals that received an award from the ISBA, the Indiana School Boards Association. They recognize school board members for their extensive dedication to their professional development by attending ISBA and other sanctioned events throughout the year. Mrs. Julie Thompson, our Vice President, was recognized as a commendable designation by ISBA, and our President, Mr. Mike Murray, is recognized with the Advanced designation. The professional development opportunities attended by both Mrs. Thompson and Mr. Murray keep them informed and educated on best practices for the board, legislative changes, legal updates, and policies that need to be considered. So congratulations to both for these designations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the principal's e-learning report.
Tonight, via Google Meet, we have Mrs. Linderwell, Mr. Metler, and Mr. Baker joining us to give us a presentation on e-learning so far for their respective buildings. So we'll go ahead and start with Mrs. Linderwell, and then we'll transfer to Mr. Metler, and then Mr. Baker following.
All right, thank you everyone for letting me speak with everyone tonight. I just wanted to kind of update everyone on where we're at and what's going on, especially as far as it concerns the elementary school. And I know this is happening in other buildings as well, but teachers have really gone over and beyond. We've changed what we used to refer to as e-learning to providing some virtual classrooms, and they've really evolved in those. I know our teachers in particular, they're preparing virtual lessons ahead of time. They're doing real life lessons. They're doing classroom meetings through Google and through Zoom. They're doing skill practice lessons and using some pre-created lessons, such as like from our SMECN. They've jumped into Screencastify's and some Edu Creations. They're really expanding how they are communicating and reaching our kids. Um, our teachers, they are required to communicate with students every e-learning day. And at an elementary level, this can be with students simply through Canvas, but at that elementary age, we have a lot of students that are being taken care of and sometimes by others, especially if our parents are still working. So sometimes that means an elementary teacher, again, is communicating with the student, but they could also be contacting a teacher or a caregiver or a babysitter or a grandmother. And they really are going over and beyond to make those connections happen. And they're doing a great job keeping those relationships going as well. On our waiver days, teachers are participating in some professional development. They're looking at their curriculum and their curriculum maps. The DOE had updated some of the standards, so they're looking at those and reviewing those and making updates as needed. We continue to have team meetings by grade level and teams once a week. The elementary school is also working on an inclusion team. We've been meeting for that once a week. They've been busy preparing lessons on those waiver days. They also have been preparing some hard copies of lessons or activities. So right now at the elementary school, we have approximately, if I were to guess, about 40 students that were preparing hard copies of lessons due to maybe lack of internet. So we are delivering those weekly and picking those up. I know our special ed department is working a lot trying to provide services either virtually or through some packets that are being distributed. Mrs. Mosier and myself, we've been able, I would say on a weekly basis, visit over 100 families each week, either just to do wellness checks to make sure families are okay, to help distribute some food bags. And like I believe here just a moment ago, you spoke about, Mr. Murray, you spoke about the lunches that are being provided. Our food service department has done a tremendous job, not just providing those meals and putting the time and effort into that, but also providing just some social emotional wellness, making people smile. I'm sure you've seen on social media just some of the different outfits or costumes that they're wearing, but now some of those kids are showing up in costumes too because they really want to connect with our food service people. So those bus drivers and food service and our teachers, just everybody is really jumping in and doing what they can to help kids.
All right, Mr. Mettler, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. We are very, very similar. We are doing our staff has, and Mike talked about this a little bit, but there has been a tremendous push towards trying to create and make a transition into virtual classrooms. We fortunately were ahead of the curve over many districts, and our teachers have been able to transition into that fairly well. It was tough in the beginning because things were changing every couple of days and it was hard to get a plan together, but I feel like we finally started to settle in now. Our staff has now created 74 different virtual meeting set times throughout the 5-day week. So that doesn't include what they're doing on a one-on-one basis, where a lot of times a student might reach out and they'll jump on Google Hangout real quick and the teacher can walk parents and the students through some difficulties if they're having on some of their work. So that's been a huge plus. We have taken a very practical approach to emphasizing the power standards as we move through the last 6 or 8 weeks of school. I think that has been met with pretty good feedback, at least to me. Um, so our teachers are also doing a great deal of outreach. What we do is each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that is an actual e-learning day, our students are expected to reach out to our teachers to gain attendance credit. And there's two ways they can do that. One is reaching out that they are okay and they are working on their work, or two, simply submitting their work. Both of those then result in students being counted as present and hopefully get their work getting done. I've been really happy. I asked the staff. We have had over 90% of our kids have participated at an above average level right now in our e-learning, which I think is really, really good. It's a credit to the parents. It's a credit to the kids. I also think it's a credit to our teachers and their outreach. We're pretty consistent and constant without trying to be nagging, if that's possible. Um, but it has worked well. We've gotten a lot of very good feedback on that. Tuesdays and Thursdays are primarily staff and team leader meetings, and then professional development, curriculum development, mirroring a lot of what Mrs. Linderwell talked about. We also have a lot of staff that are utilizing those waiver days as additional times for kids. So we almost have, if we have a math, for example, on a Monday, there's virtual meetings being hosted on Tuesdays for kids to follow up. So it really is a 5-day-a-week endeavor. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, Mrs. White and myself go out with Dick Bricker in the little white bus, and we drop to 28 families. Those are our non-Wi-Fi students. We also have some special education students who it's easier for them. It's not as overwhelming to be totally virtual. So we have been able to work with those families, and we drop to those. And then Mrs. White and I come back, and then we scan all that work to our teachers. So it's all done electronically, and then those students get credit, and the teachers go ahead and give those kids credit and can grade it. So basically, that's what we're doing. Our approach, and I think I'm really proud of our entire district, because our approach has been understanding the situation we're in, providing educational opportunities while making sure our families are taken care of, our kids are taken care of, and everybody's safe. And that to me is a big priority. And I think we've done a really good job at balancing those two things.
Thank you, Mr. Mettler. We'll jump over to Mr. Baker now.
Mr. Linderwell, Mr. Mettler summed up things very well. That's the nice thing about this. Dr. Yates and Mrs. Meitzler, we've had along with the three principals, we've had meetings, so we're all on the same page and providing some of these needs for our students. So I would echo exactly what the other two principals have said. We're all working very, very hard together. For the high school, things approach things a little differently because we have some different needs there. Our first goal was to make sure all of our students had food, safety, internet, things like that. And I'm very pleased to announce that all of our students, just about all of our students we have internet, or we have provided some temporary internet for them. So, and that just works better with our e-learning environment in our virtual school. So we're very happy. We spent about a week or two to get that done. And so our team did a very good job with that. We're constantly communicating, making sure that our students have the needs, their needs are being met, and along with parents. We're finding out, are very stressed at this time too. So we want to support parents with things like how to help your child have a routine, and how to help your child complete homework, and where to go when you have questions, because parents are now being asked to take on the role of some teaching responsibility. So we're working with parents and students a lot. We're communicating a lot through Twitter, if you've seen. And then I have a senior and parent meeting right here in the Tiger Den once a week. I have one here tomorrow at 1:00. I meet with all seniors and parents who want to join. And then I meet with all students right here in the Tiger Den on Thursdays at 1:00 for all 9 through 12 students and parents. We talk about a lot of things, and I take questions, and a lot of it is just to encourage them, motivate them, let them know we care for them, we miss them. But it just gives another channel of communication if they need to reach out to us. At the high school, it is a little bit different because those classes are credits. And so for 9 through 12, all seniors included, 9 through 12, they will be earning a grade in their current term that they are in. So that's been a little bit sometimes of a challenge. Are motivating our students to understand what you're doing now will count as a credit. It goes on your transcript. It'll determine, of course, whether you have to take again and repeat, or whether it's going to affect anything like graduation or graduation pathway. So we're really working hard to encourage students and parents to help them understand these grades are very important. Early on, some seniors, we just had some misunderstanding, and we just had to kind of correct that the information that they were hearing elsewhere. Seniors are not done. They are eligible to still graduate if they have the credits before March 19th, classes enrolled in by March 10th, and participating in remote learning. Some seniors didn't maybe want to hear that third part about I still have to participate and I want to be done. They are not. All seniors will still receive a grade for every class they are in, and it'll be transcripted. So very important that everyone finishes strong. Teachers are doing emails, phone calls, Google Meet, Zoom. We've set up kind of a virtual school where Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, our first period meets 10 to 11, literally meets like a classroom. And second period 11 to 12, third period 1 to 2, and fourth period 2 to 3. And students join those classes. So we've had some success with that. And when that doesn't work, we have teachers reach out to them through phone calls, emails, and Tuesdays and Thursdays. We are still doing, well, just as Rick and Shalora said, we're doing our PD on Tuesdays and Thursdays, just as the other buildings. We're pleasantly surprised. Our attendance is currently at 96%, which is about right what it is when we're in the brick and mortar building. So very happy about that. But I'll tell you, our teachers are working very hard to make sure students stay engaged, very, very hard. Because students are kind of sometimes, if I could just tell you, students are sometimes wanting to maybe start their summer vacation a little early, and we have to keep them focused and remind them these classes count. They're for grades. Stick with us. So we have faculty meetings once a week, group meetings with my team leader meetings. We're constantly checking on students. Most of our day is spent doing on that. To wrap up, just to let you know, we have 2 committees going to inform the board, because I'm sure you've gotten questions. We do have a class day committee going and a graduation committee going. In fact, graduation met today, our committee again, and we have some good ideas on the table. We've got some possibilities we're looking at. Depending on what the governor says and does for restrictions, we'll simply react to that. So I wish I could tell everyone this is exactly what we're going to do on this date, but no high school principal can do that right now. So we're just going to wait until the governor provides more direction, and then we'll react to that. And that could be anything from having a graduation like we always do in our high school to some virtual, or a combination thereof, depending again on what we're allowed to do. I will tell you, class day is pretty much going to be virtual. We've decided on that. Just really difficult to have that done any other way, except having everybody in the building, and we just can't do that at this time. So we are making preparations right now to have class day done virtually. It's going to be done very well, and we will honor our students as we always do. And it will be done in a blend of virtual, plus some recordings. I think everybody will be happy with how that turns out. So we're working very hard for our seniors. I know that they've had some of these circumstances not go their way, but we're doing everything we can to making sure they finish strong, and make sure they understand how much we value them, and want to make sure they have a great end to their high school career. So that's it from the high school.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Any questions before we conclude the principal's report?
I don't have a question, but thank everybody for going above and beyond. I live in my own little world at work. I think we all do, and we don't realize what everybody else is going through. So thank you to all of you.
Yeah. I just have one question. I don't know if it can be answered. Has anybody tracked or how much extra workload has been put upon the teachers as far as their time? It has to be significant. I know just working at my house on my internet, and I don't have to go put anything together to show somebody. My hours have been added on just for the network and everybody being on it. So I was just curious if anybody had mentioned that to you, principals.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Butler.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know that I can quantify that. I will say that this environment in general has been more of, you kind of have your school routine, and there's a lot of things where teachers, administrators, we all get contacted in the evenings when we're supervising or we're doing different things. So you don't really realize how much interaction we have throughout a full day, throughout a week, and this environment has kind of brought out that, just the feedback I've gotten from my staff and what we've sensed. But that's okay. I mean, I think that's the whole district, everybody in the district right now. But I think probably very similar, Mike, to what you're feeling at your work as well.
Yeah, that's very well said, Mr. Mel. I agree. This is K-12. I just am so impressed with the teachers and how hard they've worked. I know, for example, that a lot of times you're exactly right, Mr. Murray. They're either teaching a lesson during the day, and then at night they're preparing a lesson for the next day. Or you know what they do a lot of times in the evening? They are chasing down a lot of students, talking to parents, because unfortunately, we have a lot of students who aren't up in the morning. And we're trying to correct that, and we would love to have parents help with that. But unfortunately, that means we've got to then shift our hours, and we have to make those contacts in the afternoon and evening. And that's also, I'll tell you, Rick and Schlor, I know that as administrators, we're making a lot of calls in the evening, trying to encourage our parents to help your students get into a routine here. But yeah, Mr. Murray, I couldn't be more proud of all the teachers in the district. Of the hours they're putting in is absolutely amazing, and they've not complained one time. So
I would reiterate that as well too, and I would often say too, at the level of care that we have at the elementary school, hours have been changed too, because sometimes those parents need to get home from work before they can get online and do some of those. I know our special education department is trying to provide services as well, sometimes too, and the parents are asking them if they can meet with their kids at a later time after 5 or 6 o'clock. So besides just answering the emails and things like that, they're also setting up some appointments to work around parents' schedules and try to help them out too.
And I know even our IT guys they're busting it
Oh yeah.
24/7. And there's even stuff that we don't know, because our students, I can only speak of middle school, but our students will put in a support ticket because they have a glitch or they have some technical issue they're having, and they'll put that support ticket in. And those guys, our tech guys, are on it right now. They don't at 8 o'clock, they don't go, well, I'll get that first thing in the morning. I mean, they're on it right then. And that's just the overall approach of our teachers, everybody in our district. I don't care who it is in our district. They have all said, hey, this is unique. We'll pull it together. Everybody is helping each other. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now doing what we're doing.
amen.
Well said.
Amen.
And it's not perfect, but we work awful hard to try. And that's all you can ask. And I appreciate everybody.
Well, again, thanks for all your efforts. I know all the school board members, we appreciate it all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the Assistant Superintendent's Report. Mrs. Meitzler is joining us via Google Meet.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. I wish I was right there in the room with you. Talking to my little screen is certainly not the place I want to be, but it's something that's necessary. I want to reiterate what the principals just said. They are doing an amazing job as school leaders, staying calm in the chaos. So we appreciate them. Dr. Yates and I are very blessed to work right alongside them. So we've got a really good team going. In my report this month, I shared some different information with you about transportation, grants, technology and continuous learning plan. And I'm just going to highlight two things tonight, and the rest can be just for your reading. And I wanted to talk about our technology department a little bit. Mr. Metler started that, but I want you to know that they are doing a fantastic job keeping us connected. Our students and teachers, everybody at the same time using their devices. And so it's an astronomical feat, and they're doing very well. Along with those tech guys doing really well, our staff is doing an incredible job in a world that we didn't understand 100%. We had not had Google Meets and Zooms very much. So this really pushed us. Last Monday, we did a count, and at that time, 200 staff members had participated in at least one Google Meet. And 138 staff members had started their own Google Meet. So that's impressive. That's probably gone up tremendously since last week. But I can tell you that they are jumping in, sometimes in a zone that they're not as comfortable in, but they're becoming more and more comfortable every day. Secondly, I just want to highlight the continuous learning plan. You may have heard that in the governor's information or in the IDOE information. It's something that all schools have been required to turn in. It was due on April 17th. We've submitted ours and had ours approved and returned to us, so we're in good shape with that. In that plan, you will note that there are things in there for parents to maybe better understand what we're doing during this time. So it is posted on our website. It talks about our calendar, the recommended timeframes for different grade levels. It's got information in there about attendance and grading. You heard Mr. Baker say that students at the high school were receiving credit. Students in K-8, we've gone to a plus check minus system for Q4, and that's explained in that continuous learning plan. It also highlights the kind of feedback that teachers are able to give, as well as professional development happening in all three buildings. So that has been turned in and submitted. To no surprise to me, our district is doing really well. There are difficulties. We've got bumps in the road, but people have jumped in, just like everyone has said, and worked really well together. And it's all for the kids. And we just want to make sure that they're well and that we provide some opportunities for them to continue to learn. So super proud of everybody. And I could answer any questions about any of those topics at this time.
Anybody have any questions for Mrs. Meisler? Okay, thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Moving on to Superintendent's Report, Dr. Yates.
Yeah, I have the superintendent's report, and then also I'll have the COVID-19 update as well. So I'll just probably take those two in succession. For the superintendent's report, in your packet, the updated fund analysis report for the month ending of March for our financials are included in there. We're still looking at summer projects for maintenance and improvement areas. We'll be still looking at the middle school digital sign, the road sign that's out in front of the middle school. Lighting for the pool after the mechanical issue there is resolved. Looking at drive and lot crack fill and sealant. That's normal summer work for us. Also the high school B wing, which would be the language arts area of the high school. That carpet is getting installed this summer. And then we'll be looking at refinishing potentially for the pool and the locker room areas for the PE and pool area at the middle school. So we're still looking at summer projects, again, barring whatever guidance we have on having contractors come in and get work done in our buildings. The Department of Education extended the average daily membership deadline for the projection for the 2020-2021 school year. If you recall back at our first meeting in March, 1,675 was the projected ADM that I was reporting to the DOE. I've reduced that number now for the 2020-2021 school year, just to be a little more conservative with the potential of enrollment dipping if families have different thoughts on returning to school and when they may do that. So the count period, the count day is in September. So if we're still at a kind of a in-between status, we may have families decide to wait to enroll their students till later in the fall. So just as a way to kind of be a little more conservative in that, I've reduced that projection by about 2% down to 1,640. And a lot of that's based upon where our current kindergarten numbers are at. We had our kindergarten registration date still on March 17th, and we did that primarily digitally, or families could enroll online. And we're currently at 95 students registered for kindergarten for the 2020-2021 school year, which is a little bit lower than where we're normally at this point in time. We usually get maybe 20 or so students then over the summer. That would put us at a class of about 115, and we were kind of targeting 125, 130. So it still could grow to that point, but right now we're looking at that 95 number and watching that as it grows. And then the last one on the superintendent's report, we are continuing with the superintendent entry plan for the long-term strategic plan phase of that. We're having each building principal met with Barton Cove-Villanova representatives digitally. They had video conferences to talk about their buildings and what changes they could see or have in terms of needs in the short to medium timeline, and then also looking at it from a long-term perspective. So Barton Cove-Villanova is still working to produce that facility study for us here by the end of this 6-month period. So that concludes the superintendent side. I'll jump into the COVID-19 report and then any questions that you may have. So included, as Mrs. Meisler said in her report, on our school website, we have a lot of information for families and the community in regards to COVID-19. Our continuous learning plan is on there as well. Mr. Murray mentioned tonight about our food service program, and I think it was mentioned with the principals. We're averaging around 480 to 490 meals that are served each day. About 50 or so of those are getting delivered to families that don't have the means to come and pick up meals, but the majority of those are getting picked up at our elementary school. We've just changed our scheduling for that, going to a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday format. So on Mondays, families can pick up meals for Monday. On Tuesdays, they pick up meals for Tuesday and Wednesday. And then on Thursday, they pick up meals for Thursday and Friday. So we're just working to try to limit the exposure of interactions. So that allowed our staff to be able to bundle meals together with those multiple days and still not overwhelm families with too much groceries at one point in time. In terms of community support, we've been very blessed with a lot of different organizations reaching out to provide support and assistance to our students. A community support side, we've had the free groceries provided by the Wells County 4-H Foundation. That's been a continuing program we've had throughout the school year. This is not anything new. We're just kind of delivering it in a different way. So during the school year, this was the food bag program that we had delivered on Thursdays or Fridays that would go home with students. And we're continuing that process, delivering those to families even during this school closure period. Also, CVS Pharmacy and Utz Foods have donated supplies and or foods to those food bags. So it's been a great partnership to have there. I-Town Church continues to help families in need. They've had 2 different grocery nights for our community that we've hosted here on our campus, where families can drive in and pick up groceries, and it just get placed in their trunks in the evening. So we're very appreciative of that partnership we have with I-Town. And then also the Boys and Girls Club is still active with their families. We have a lot of students that use those services after school, and they're still available to those families and providing homework help and also some social support to those families that are in need. And I mentioned the website that we have. We have a variety of information of frequently asked questions on there. Also, we have a way for families to ask questions if they don't see it on our FAQ, so we can add that information if we get those inquiries. Our lunch menus, additional e-learning resources, the homework help line from Rose Holman is on there, and just a variety of COVID-19 information, trying to be a resource for a lot of different areas and keeping people up to date as we make any changes. And also, obviously, our social media with Facebook and Twitter is keeping people up to date as we evolve. And then the last I have is just information for the board on state and federal guidance. I've shared that in the board packet, information for the Department of Education. They have a really well-done frequently asked questions for school administrators, teachers, and also parents on just the variety of different requirements and regulations that are either being waived or postponed. The Indiana School Board Association continues to provide weekly updates for their COVID-19 information. And then also the Department of Local Government Finances has provided information on our meetings and also some financial best practices as we go through this period of time. So those are my 2 reports, but if we have any questions on those, I'd be happy to work to answer them.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Hearing no questions, we'll move on to unfinished business.
We have none.
Moving on to new business, retirement of personnel. Mrs. Joyce Evans has offered her intent to retire effective at the end of the school year. Mrs. Evans' teaching career has spanned 36 years, with the last 33 of those here at BHES, teaching students in grade 1 in our kindergarten. I would like to congratulate Mrs. Evans on her very successful career at BHES and wish her all the best in her retirement. Also, we have Mrs. Carol Herring has also submitted her intent to retire, effective at the end of the school year. Mrs. Herring began her career with the Adams Wells Special Services Co-op in 1995 and then became an employee of BHMSD in 2012 as a special education instructional assistant at Bluffton High School. We would like to wish Mrs. Herring all the best in her retirement as well. So now I'll entertain a motion to approve these retirement requests as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Bruce. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Heath. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0 passes. Moving on to resignation of personnel. We have the following resignations to consider this evening. Nicole Burns, middle school intense interventions teacher. So I'll now entertain a motion to approve this resignation as presented tonight.
So moved.
So moved by Bruce, or Brent, excuse me.
Second.
Second by Julie. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0 passes. Moving on to the resolution to address the reduction of cash flow, Executive Order 20-05. Dr. Yates has provided a summary memorandum outlining the district's options to address the potential reduction of cash flow as a result of Governor Holcomb's Executive Order 20-05 issued on March 19th, which waived the penalty for property taxes paid after the due date of May 11th, 2020 for a period of 60 days. Tonight, the resolution before us provides the superintendent the authority to complete the financial steps necessary to start the process to obtain short-term debt for the district as a result of the delayed receipt of property taxes if it warrants and is necessary. This resolution does not authorize new debt, but simply allows Dr. Yates the ability to pursue and investigate options for the district. If a call is deemed necessary, Dr. Yates will present an additional recommendation at that time. So at this time, I will now entertain a motion to approve the resolution to address reduction to cash flow as presented tonight.
So moved.
So moved by Julie,
Second.
second by Bruce. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0 passes. Moving on to the resolution to donate supplies and materials. During the COVID-19 pandemic period, personal protective equipment may be beneficial to local health organizations and/or community service organizations. The resolution before us tonight, which was included in our board packet, provides the superintendent the authority to donate supplies and materials previously purchased by the school corporation for purposes related to the public health emergency. So I'll now entertain a motion to approve the resolution to donate supplies and materials as presented tonight.
So moved.
So moved by Brent,
Second.
second by Heath. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0 passes. Moving on to the adjusted 2019-20 school calendar due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
On April 2nd, Governor Holcomb issued Executive Order 2016 directing all schools to provide remote learning for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. In order to complete the school year, schools must complete two different criteria. One would be complete 160 instructional days, or the other, at least 20 additional days of remote learning between April 2nd, 2020 and the conclusion of the 2019-2020 school year. For BHMSD, our plan conducts e-learn on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays between April 3rd and May 20th, and this is a change from our previous schedule. April 10th will remained unchanged for the Good Friday holiday. And additional information will be provided regarding the end-of-year processes, including locker clean-out, textbook and device collection, etc., as decisions are finalized here in the next couple weeks. I recommend approval of the adjusted 2019-2020 school calendar as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation to approve the adjusted 2019-20 school calendar. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
So moved by Bruce,
Second.
second by Brent. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0 passes. Moving on to textbook adoption 2020-2021.
Throughout the 2019-2020 school year, Mrs. Meitzler has led the committee review of curricular materials for English and language arts in grades 7 through 12. And as part of that committee process, teachers at the middle school and the high school met with textbook representatives this past February and reviewed curricular materials for those grade levels. At this time, that committee has come to a decision, and they're recommending the Pearson's My Perspectives textbooks for adoption for the grades 7 through 12, beginning the 2020-2021 school year. I will note that this would come from our curricular materials fund that we have that is supported through textbook rental payments from our families. I recommend approval of the textbook adoption for grades 7-12 English language arts as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation for approval of the textbook adoption for grades 7 to 12 English language arts. We have a motion to accept.
So moved.
So moved by Julie.
Second.
Second by Bruce. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0 passes. Moving on to other items.
We have no other items tonight.
Moving on to adjournment, take a motion to adjourn tonight.
So moved.
So moved by Heath.
Second.
Second by Brent. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0, we're adjourned. Thank you.